pilot project first in order to move to the long-term goal. But the initial pilot project is not really interested to them because of the size of what we wanted to deploy. And it been demanding and taxing for us as an organization when it comes to the cost of the electrolyzer and the fuel cell that we wanted to deploy for the pilot project. So what I will also say is that the way government has done to solar development in Nigeria, if they can also encourage the green hydrogen developer in that space, like a long-term break for tax or even tax exemption for developers, I think this will also encourage the developer to go more into it. And also, if federal government and REA, the GIZ, and the Green Hydrogen Office of the German Chamber of Commerce, if they can also help in terms of reaching out to the developer on how we can fast track the development of a pilot project in Nigeria. This will also enable the local investor to see that, okay, this is actually working, and this can also help us in terms of decarbonization and the energy transition program that we are looking at 2060. This will also help. It will help in a very, very long way, and people will get a buy-in once they can see that, oh, this is actually green hydrogen. And also government should create a market demand in such a way that government also will be some kind of off-taker where they can do some policy in essence that, let's look at the Ministry of Environment, where we have some people parking waste management and the lights. If all the trucks that are being used for parking of waste can be converted to run on green hydrogen, and it's to be a policy that all the states in Nigeria will be able to adopt. And I'm sure with that, many states in Nigeria want to say how we wanted to invest in the production of green hydrogen, even by collaborating with the private sector like us. I think this will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Chimaobi has been waiting for a while, and he's been writing plenty. We've talked a lot about how to mainstream this, how to finance these, and the challenges, but nothing has been said about capacity. And I know from your own standpoint, you also have interest in capacity development. So where do you think we need to strengthen local capacity? Because most times we have also conversations about hydrogen. There is people saying the oil and gas sector, for example. Nigeria had to rely on expert service in the oil and gas sector for like 30 years. Most of the nationals who mid-management and lower management, it's just probably 5-10 years ago that Nigerians started moving into high-level management. And there is also that fear for hydrogen, that when hydrogen becomes mainstream, we are going to have Nigerians also walking the ropes from below, and it's going to take us another 30 years to have real expert service locally at the national level. Where and how do you think we can mitigate against this? Because it is a foreseeable problem as far as capacity is concerned. Thank you.
Okay, let me start with an example, right? A very quick example. So if you look at the energy efficiency space, right? Look at what GIZ NESP has done with the energy efficiency space, for example. So in this podium, for example, we already have a certified energy manager, certified energy auditors, for example, and it didn't happen, immediately. So the same model is applicable. Is it possible that we begin to build the capacities in such a way that it is gradual, and gradual will mean that the experts will also get the chance to work within the sector. So, for example, Engineer Muhyiddin, for example, I'm sure that he's very short-staffed. And if he were to even recruit someone that decides to leave from his office tomorrow, he would have an issue getting someone who has some, hydrogen understanding. So I think it's the same pathway. I think that we need to be very deliberate. And so the quick win would be, like I said, it's not about today. Those of us who can work within this sector at the moment are not so much. So the question is, in the next 5 years, do we have a plan to ensure that there's a lot of people, who have the capacity to work within the hydrogen space without any problem? So it starts now. So the guy who is in final year, we have some interns here, for example, from our office. The guy who is in his 4th year or 5th year in school, is he going to know about hydrogen today so that when he finishes school next year, he comes to Engineer Muhyiddin's company to work on his first pilot project, comes to somebody else's company, works for his first pilot project. And when we begin to build that, capacity little by little, for example, are there exchange programs from GIZ, from the H2Up project that we say, okay, come over to Germany for 3 months, let's train you, on how to do this or do that. So I think it's not going to be an immediate stuff, but we have to be very deliberate about it. So from the universities, we need to start building that. For example, how many universities teach hydrogen, for example, at the moment, even in the engineering faculties? Even right now, renewable energy is not even a big stuff in engineering faculties in Nigeria. That's the truth. So how do we expect people to leave school tomorrow and suddenly they can be experts within the sector? So eventually, to avoid the oil and gas sector debacle with the capacity, we need to start from now. Short term, next 5 years, let's see what we can do, right? Deliberate capacity building, vocational training, exchange programs, all of that, extremely important. What Priscilla said is very vital. The industries are about the bottom line. How much will it cost me to do this X, Y, Z? And that is where research comes in. The academia comes in. Who are the guys in the academia who have an idea of, carrying out research, or the research guys? Because the truth is, we read in the papers that cost of solar panels are coming down every day globally. So you see 50% price reduction in whatever. But in Nigeria, that's not what is happening. So Nigeria works, it's a fantastic country, but the truth is that we must understand our own local realities and work with it. So the cost of hydrogen is a big deal, but how will we help someone like FMNs, for example, to adopt it? First, because of Kunle's argument about clean output, but also because of Priscilla's argument about the cost. Okay, so eventually the only way that this happens is that there has to be some local research going on to say, okay, what are the things we can do? It might interest you that there might be somebody in one university somewhere who has done some very, fantastic research, but nobody has even collaborated enough to even say what is in it here that we can develop further. So we need more collaboration between research institutions, academia, government, private sector. I would say from the government side, I was trying to write down some things because I felt like there was a lot of government in this. I think first is the incentives. What would be the incentive for FMN to go into this, right? I don't know what it would be right now, either tax breaks or whatever it is. For example, same thing with RE products or electric vehicles. Are we going to import electric vehicles at 0% import duty? Or will the guy who has to import it still have to pay heavily? And will that discourage or encourage him to go ahead and do it? So first, the incentives, whether tax breaks, whatever it is. Of course, capacity building needs to happen first from the educational point of view, and then to the government guys who make the policy. Because I can make a policy in a room with other government officials, and if all of us do not understand the nitty-gritties around hydrogen, for example, we will make policies that do not necessarily address Priscilla's issues or Muhyiddin's issues. So first, you also need to get the government guys who make the policies to understand, what happens in Muhyiddin's business, what happens in Priscilla's business, for example, and get them on board also in developing the policy so that you don't make a policy that, does not address the current challenges. I would also say awareness creation. So I will give another example. If you are a Lagos person, when the use of seatbelt first started, right? And before our parents would drive, without using the seatbelt, so we just go anywhere. And then the last mile came. So the first time they catch you, there's a fine. The second time they catch you, there's a fine. Now the next time you're going out, it's your child who will tell you, daddy or mommy, you've not put on your seatbelt. So somewhere it's around that awareness creation over and over again. Like I said, nothing will happen like magic, but it has to be, what do we want to do? What's our goal in the next 5 years, and how do we, deliberately create programs that help us to get to our goal? So that will be my comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chimobi, on the
Sorry,
awareness part.
can I comment on that?
Okay.
So the funny thing is that we have done this previously. I remember an hydro company who got a green bond of 8.6 billion naira, I think about 6 years ago. And guess what? They got an incentive, a tax break of, I think, 5 years or 4 years. So just like China did, how did they subsidize solar panels that it got to Africa? If you compare the cost of solar panels in China and the rest of the world, you happen to see it is very cheap. Even the professor who made the first intro said the same thing. So bringing in incentive is very imperative for private businesses like us to adopt green hydrogen.
Okay. I was about to say you should share, given that our time is finally almost done, and then we just have very few minutes left. This one is more like your final thought, and it's going to be specific to flour mills. There's been a lot of talks about CBAM, the carbon border and the carbon tax. Recently, we had a meeting where industries were around, and there was serious lamentation amongst the industries, especially those who are exporting. The exporters are seriously complaining that they cannot compete with products from Ghana, they can't compete with products from Rwanda because they pay higher carbon tax from Nigeria, and that's because they depend heavily on diesel to run their operations. And this is a present danger for our industries. We can see how far the Naira is going and how far the economy is doing. And most of these things also have global impact and implications as well. As a company now, and as one who is managing the topic of sustainability, what are you doing to ensure, or what is your company doing to ensure that your operations are sustainable? Are you mainstreaming green productions? Are you looking at staying competitive in the long term? And are you looking at adopting some of these clean initiative as well as short-term or long-term goal? Just your final thought.
Okay, so it's like you read our mind because there is a discussion going up at top management. So we do understand, okay, currently flour mill isn't exporting to Europe. So it's currently takes us away from CBAM. However, we also have external pressures from customer. Remember, we are a product producer, and which implies we will give out our product to multinationals and then to the locals. Now, the locals are not actually giving us the issue. However, the multinationals are. So beyond CBAM, I'm going to be explaining that we might not have local pressure, but we do have external pressures from our buyers. And some of them are like, you must give us your decarbonization plan for that business. And when I talk about that, we're talking about your previous, your current, and even the future, like in alignment with the Nigerian transition plan and the current NDC. So you see that as a business, I can tell you that we are preparing, and we know this is a risk to our business. So in what are we preparing now? We are reshuffling our department, the ESG unit. We're also focusing a lot on decarbonization because that is not just the current, but the future. We know if we do not address these risks, it's going to be a problem for us in doing business. And some of these businesses already stated that if you're not going to give us so requirement. I'm going to give you like the flag requirement, forest land, and a Greek emission. Some of them are even saying, oh, you need to go as far as go beyond scope 1 and 2. You need to start accounting for your scope 3. So these are stronger requirements. Some of them are saying we want to see okay, one of them was like, we want to see an abatement of 4.1% compared to the previous year. So these are stringent requirements. So we are facing this pressure already, and we do understand that this is a risk, and we've still re-strategizing ourselves from top management to put in solutions that can mitigate against these risks, because we still want to be in business after now.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. And
for financial incentive, like we've been talking all the while, in such a way that if government can also guarantee or do some kind of model or risk model, that shared risk model that government can back up, so that that can also enable us to attract foreign investment into the production of green hydrogen. So those are the things I will be pleading and asking for from the government representative or agency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think on the policy, the government is actually serious about that, and something is cooking. I would say cooking.
Okay. So I hope we get it on time.
So definitely. Okay, Mr. Lakunle, you've been in this space longer than myself. I think I heard your name before I came to the space, and you are still around. And there is a whole lot of talk about incentive. Sincerely, do you think Nigeria has the capacity to finance the energy transition beyond hydrogen, looking at the green energy, clean energy, clean fuel? Does Nigeria have the money to finance this as a country?
We don't really have the money to finance this as a country, and that is why we need to leverage on partnership. We need to leverage on the green funds that are available globally. We need to start the carbon pricing now, so that private sector too can use that to generate some financing to support their project. And it shouldn't be about government only. It should be a collective effort. So like Priscilla said, industries are also having pressure from external stakeholders, not from the government. So it has to be a collective effort. But to answer your question straight, government, we don't have that money to take us to this decarbonization alone without leveraging on opportunities from other partners and stakeholders.
Thank you very much. So you are saying Nigeria does not have the money to finance the energy transition?
Even the Nigerian Energy Transition Plan, that was the old strategy. They mentioned the funding and also indicated opportunity to get those funding. It was never about government to provide all the funding. So I would say that it's something we should collaborate to finance this.
Yeah, thank you very much, because that is very legitimate. Who are within the energy transition space, what best steps do you think they can take to fast track this conversation in the coming years?
From my own experience, I would say that there needs to be a lot of continuous stakeholder engagement with all the players. So, of course, between the government and development partners, there has to be constant engagement to know, for example, what to drive the kind of policies, incentives, the kind of programs and projects that the government will do. It might interest you that sometimes the government needs to prepare its budget for next year, for example. There has to be somebody in the room who is going to be able to advise them that these are the projects we need to do and this is where the funds should come to. And if someone who is not in that room to do that, what happens is that the government will embark on certain projects that you might deem backwards. And so the development partners need to ensure that they constantly engage with the government, while the government constantly engages with the private sector, so that somewhere along the line we are able to cater for all the needs of these different players. So that would be my advice. I mean, constant engagement, because sometimes, to be honest, if you have so much funds to put into the government, I think it only makes sense to know what the government needs before you put in the money, and not the other way around. That's my advice.
Okay, thank you very much, Chimobi. This time we are looking at the audience. You've heard the panel and they've shared their thoughts. We would want to take one or two comments from the audience, questions and contributions, if there is any. I think the microphone would go around. Please, you could just raise your hand if you have a comment you want to leave. Any comments? Okay, we have two hands. Okay, you can introduce yourself, and so we can know your name and which organization you come from.
Good morning. My name is Alamin Olakpade. Good morning. My name is Alami Olakpade.
A little bit audible.
Okay. I'm an intern at the National Center for Energy Conservation and Energy Efficiency and Conservation. So my question is to just like Engineer Chimabi said earlier, the center is investing in capacity building. And also I believe that in development and then creating a sustainable space for the development of developing green sources like green hydrogen and the likes. I believe that also the private sector, I want to ask if they are doing anything or if they are investing in any initiative to also enhance the capacity building on their own side. Like Engineer Chimabi said, we don't have enough capacity building programs in the universities or research institute, but also I believe probably the companies also find it reasonable to invest in capacity building on their own. I don't know if they are doing that. I want to ask about.
Can I take that? Can I take that?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. As for us as an organization, it's part of our program that to every community that we deploy either solar projects or any other projects that relate to renewable energy, it is in our program that we must train at least 10 persons, male and female, in that community to develop capacity. One, through that program, we employ one or two persons to also be part of our organization, monitoring the deployment in the community, and also develop that capacity so that they can go out and look for job in that area if they are interested. So we are doing that currently.
Okay, Priscilla, you wanted to say something?
Yes, FMN do have this connectivity or partnership with private universities and research centers. Even in some of our bills, like Sunte, we have a research and development department that research on sugarcane production, the yield, and the rest of that. However, green hydrogen is actually new, so we've not done anything on green hydrogen. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think he was looking at general renewables at that level.
Yes.
Okay, do you have any renewable energy related training for young people?
Okay, so right now, I may not really know if we have any renewable energy training for young persons, but I do know we collaborate with some universities on research and development. However, looking at areas that are material to our business, I'll give you an example. What could be material to golden sugar is sugarcane yield. So that is where we invest in. We've only deployed renewables to just very few sites. So for us, it is not too material for us at the moment. Is that fine?
Okay, Lakunle.
Sorry, quickly. I would say that for EcoWatt, we have academy, sustainability, typically, and we collaborate with university like University of Lagos. Some of their final year students used to come to our academy to learn about renewable energy, and when we have the opportunity to include them in during conducting energy audit, we also do that. So you can tell your colleagues about that, and it's free for students like you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lakunle. We have 4 more hands. I think we will just take them quickly. While waiting for the next comment, I would just want to add for the intent, the Nigerian Energy Support Program, NESP, of GIZ has a capacity development unit. And they also handle training and capacity development for young people who are also looking forward. I think there is a mentorship program currently going on, and I have a colleague in the room. I would introduce you to her, who is in charge of that. I think she'll be interested in talking to you. Okay, so the next question, please. Okay, Prof is coming forward, and I hope it's not a question.
It's actually, I love it. Thanks so much, Basi. I love the... Okay. Thanks so much. I love the project that Mr. Muhyiddin is doing on green hydrogen. You know, it's something that is, you know, we're all looking up towards. You know, I have one of my PhD students, they're always working on green hydrogen too. You know, but where I'm going is this. The little assessment that I've done over Nigeria, I think yours is a bit different. The closest to green hydrogen that we have is the one at Egbe. I don't know if you know about that. That's the closest. It's not green, really. You want to say something?
Yes, we actually visited the location together.
Oh, together. Thank you. Yeah. The only difference is that the power source, the source of power. That's so maybe we classify it as gray because it's from and then CO2 is coming out. Now, there is a problem with, you said something that was very right. The energy density of hydrogen is so high. It's like more or less like times 25 of that from diesel. So a kilogram from hydrogen will cause so much havoc if there is accident. And there was accident at Egbe some years back, maybe 2-3 years now. They had to shut down the whole plant. And the accident was from the the electrolyzer. Are you getting me? So what assessment are you trying to do to ascertain that this thing is risk-free for we? Knowing fully well, I don't want to say Nigerians are careless. Knowing fully well that, okay, you know, the way we are. So for us to be able to make use of your product and then be comfortable, because safety is first before any other thing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thanks.
So actually, we are actually working with an integrator called H2 Core. We are working with them for our pilot project to see how we can deploy that and also learn through the process of deployment. And every necessary safety caution that we need to take into will be taken care of and will be software as and documented for that project. Thank you.
Okay, Chimabi.
Yeah, so I think I go with Prof's argument, but I would say that now it is important that Muhyiddin's company or any other company doing hydrogen can leverage on exchange programs. I'll keep on saying this. If you do not figure out how it works, where it's working already, you would spend so much time trying to figure it out. So you need to go learn. I tell people I want to learn, and people say, oh, you're an expert. No, I'm not an expert. I want to learn. What does he need to, where does he need to go to? What programs can be leveraged on for him to, get the best of the knowledge and so that he can easily implement it in the shortest possible time, right? And still get it right.
Okay. Just to add to Prof, we are taking a few months, probably sometime last year, I was there myself, and the electrolyzer is a bit obsolete to begin with, so there are safety issues with that electrolyzer. It's close to 20. It's a model that it's a little bit not very much in vogue at the moment. But the hydrogen projects we also support development nationally, we take safety very seriously. So there are standards with, there are sustainability standards, there are also safety protocols. And then Nigeria is also trying to put up the national hydrogen policy, and there's conversations across different parastatal. So I think when this policy becomes mainstream, currently there's hydrogen usage across various industries like fertilizers and the rest, but there is no policy that regulates how this is done. But when the policy is finally launched by the federal government, I believe it would tell you exactly how long you should actually be using an electrolyzer before decommissioning it, for example, and how long you should actually be using certain components before replacing them. But right now we don't have that, so everybody who is using hydrogen or producing hydrogen as part of the industrial feedstock do not really have regulatory oversight. So that also is part of the reason what happened. But I believe in the coming future, when we have a national policy, these things would be averted. Okay, I think we'll take two more. Have two more hands where we can take all the questions. There's one hand behind you. Behind.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olamileko Adenusi. I'm a recent graduate from University of Lagos. So I was really interested in the project that Engineer Muhyiddin talked about, the hydrogen project and then the electrolyzer, because that was also what I worked on, an electrolyzer for my undergraduate project. So I'm interested in the energy-intensive nature of the project, as well as we made mention of solar panels. So I did some reading, and I realized that these two fields, producing solar panels as well as using the electrolyzer, they are very energy intensive. So what plans do we have in place to sort of manage the intensive nature of this project so that we don't continue to still heavily depend on fossil fuels?
Okay, Lakunle.
I don't know if Engineer Muhyiddin want to specifically talk about his project, then I can add to
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Concerning our project, so what we are looking at for the development of the green hydrogen is one, like I said earlier, that is in two phases. First, we are developing a solar power plant first, and that solar power plant will be a source that will feed the electrolyzer for the production of the green hydrogen. So we are really relying on solar to power the electrolyzer. But generally speaking, like my sister here said earlier, in terms of infrastructure, the government needs to invest on infrastructure. And part of the infrastructure is our national grid. Because to make the cost of green hydrogen cheaper, we actually need a cheap electricity to produce it. Apart from solar, we all know the little challenge about the solar is after the sunset, we are not getting energy again. So after that, what will now happen? Because the green hydrogen, the electrolyzer needs to work 24 hours a day to generate the hydrogen we need. So government also need to do more in terms of improve on our grid, and also in terms of collaborating with the present deployment of solar projects in Nigeria. Governments also need to improve on the infrastructure in terms of transportation and the facility to store hydrogen, the green hydrogen. That if company A, which is green hydrogen developer, wanted to produce green hydrogen, it does not necessarily mean to go and invest on solar projects before he starts his own production. He can also collaborate with a developer who is currently having a low demand from the community where he's operating, and leverage on that, collaborate, and get electricity from the developer, and that will be like sort of an anchor customer for the developer so that they can generate the green hydrogen. And through the infrastructure that government has produced, in terms of the transportation network and the hydrogen storage facility, they can pick it up from that location and take it to where it is needed. So I think that also will improve the production of green hydrogen.
Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lakunle.
Sorry, let me quickly say something. From what the person who asked the question said, I want to really clarify that you do not need an external energy source outside a renewable source in producing green hydrogen, meaning you need any renewable plus the electrolyzer. We don't need any other source. I just hope I'm clear on that. And secondly, sir, you are really emphasizing on solar. I want to reiterate that we should also consider the hydro, because I do understand that a company in Sweden called H2 Green Steel, they had to collaborate with hydro business, to be able to generate green hydrogen. So we have our hydro company currently in Nigeria expanding. We just commissioned Zongeru. We have Shiroro, our 600 megawatt capacity. We also have Jeba and Kenji, who just upgrade their system now, so to increase their megawatt production. So you can also imagine having and collaborating with those, because they're also green power in producing green hydrogen. Then you can now start thinking about the transport to locations where they are needed.
Okay.
I just hope I gave you a free business case.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Although I talk about our project, using solar project to power the electrolyzer, I'm also looking at, when I talk about the collaboration, I just use solar projects as an example. So if any other developers also that want to produce green hydrogen can talk to Sungeru, Shiroro, and every other renewable that is hydro in production, that they can talk to them and also leverage on that and produce the green hydrogen. Then the government infrastructure, the transportation network, the storage facilities that has been produced can also be leveraged on and make sure that the cost of the production of green hydrogen is cheaper and affordable for companies like you that want to do decarbonization, can get the supply from them. Thank you.
Okay, just to add, there is a company developing with hydro currently, so it's part of their mix. Mr. Lakunle,
okay, I won't waste time. I just want to say that when you are using renewable energy to produce green hydrogen, and you are still you want to use that green hydrogen to produce electricity, I think it's a bit inefficient. So to harness it efficiently, I think the focus should be to produce this green hydrogen to replace gas in the industries. I mean, to power high heating demand activities, rather than using it to produce fuel cell, because you can use the electricity directly from renewable for your electricity. So why using that to produce green hydrogen, then again to produce electricity? A lot of inefficiency. So just to
so as a matter of fact, there is a policy in Nigeria that has a cap for how much of your renewable you can use for hydrogen. So you can only use excess renewable for hydrogen, except you are building a fresh standalone project. So you are not permitted to take from an existing energy source from a community to do hydrogen. So this is part of the energy security component of the green space. Chimobi, we have one last question. We are running out of time.
One sentence.
Okay.
So I will just say, what lessons have we taken from our gas pipelines in trying to establish for hydrogen? So I'm just saying, going forward, let's think about that also.
Okay, thank you. Final comment? Oh, we still have one more.
No, I think
Okay,
my hand was up before him.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I don't know if I should come.
You can come forward, please.
All right, good afternoon, good people. My name is Eugene Amwasamoa, and I'm from Ghana. I must say I've enjoyed the conversation as it's happening, and I want to just add my voice to it. I'm with the biggest compost and recycling plant in Africa. We call ourselves Kumasi Compost and Recycling Plant, and part of the Jospon group of companies. I want to say that the issue or the the discussion about green hydrogen is very topical in the world, and the earlier we as Africans embrace it, the better. But in order to safeguard the environment and also protect all our future, we have to be intentional about moving discussions and initiatives such as these. For instance, we can't have these initiatives without the support of government. So there should be a clear policy direction from the angle of government. We should know what we are doing, and there should be the low-hanging fruits and then the future plans, so that it will create an enabling environment for even the private sector. We should know what government is saying. If you want to come in and invest, what is in it for you as an investor? Again, we should tweak our curriculum such that it embraces topics such as these, because if that is the future, then we have to start teaching people from the scratch so that they understand it and they're able to push it forward. We also have to know that certainly there will be professionals in this space. If we don't have them now, are we going to import them? Are we going to train them? We have to be intentional about training people in the space so that they can run with it. And then the CAPEX is high, as my brother rightly mentioned. How do we get the financial muscles to even foster or push this investment forward? There are donor agencies, there are donor partners who are willing and ready to support. And this problem is not only an African problem, it's a global problem. So if we position it and situate it as such, then we can even go to the donor agencies to support us in that regard. These are my few points I would want to add to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we'll take the final question. Please, you can come forward.
Hello, my name is Engineer Tade. I'm a global climate change enthusiast. I enjoyed the presentation and also the panelists. But there is one basic thing that I think we are actually that is missing, which is the fundamental. Mostly, this knowledge is limited to certain level of education, but in civilized or in a developing country, the sensitization of the public, even for renewable energy, not necessarily about hydrogen, because this hydrogen technology is relatively simple, but how many people are actually aware of what is it all about? So I think the better we work also on how to sensitize our public, so that people will know the reason why, for what reason, why are they doing that. That's my contribution, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Tade. We also appreciate your comment. And to everyone who has participated, we want to say thank you. And please, a big round of applause for our panel. They have poured their mind. And I want to say thank you. So please, group photograph, please.
No, I've not got.
Thank you very much. Please, once again, a round of applause for them as they go back to their seats. Alina?
QR code. Thank you very much to our panel and to WACEE for moderating. We really hope that this event was interesting for you. On your tables you will find a QR code, and we would like to ask everyone to scan it if you want to give us some feedback on this event. You can just use your phone and scan it, and it will lead you to a site where you can input your feedback. So with that, also thank you all very much for taking the time and listening. And now the lunch break will follow. Have a nice afternoon.
So, thank you very much, GIZ, and for this insightful panel session. So, currently, we are going to be going on the break, a short break. So, I would like for all of us to reconvene back here by 1:30. We're going to be having another presentation, and this is relating to different technologies in clean energy. Apart from the whole hardware stuff we'll be talking about, we're actually going to learn more about how AI, data, and all of that stuff and different technologies can be used. And lastly, we'll also be having another panel session, and this is in respect to the energy support program GIZ is actually organizing. So I would like for us to actually reconvene back and have a wonderful break. Thank you. There was this Larry.